this shit.
Cars that are parked up out of the way at the minute, ready for getting the next stage of project work done. You can see there's plenty of cool projects to come on this channel. So I've just fitted the Mk1's new mini light wheels, as you see in the last episode. So we've got the Group 4 studs in there now. So you can see obviously we've got the stud inserts inside the wheels as well. So these are a proper nice bit of kit, and obviously these are genuine mini lights. These ain't no replica wheels. You can see there. And you see that these tyres were put on in the past. It's going to drop down the car so you can see the stance on it, but you can see the offset on these big rally wheels and rally arches. So what we're going to do is we're going to lower this car a little bit, because at the minute the stance is a bit high. So we're going to put some lowering blocks on it. I'm going to show you obviously in this episode some lowering blocks. The spring's a little bit stiff on the front at the minute. So we've got this beautiful Mark II Jaguar here, V8 3.4 litre automatic. Absolutely beautiful car if you're into your classics. They're going up in value as well, obviously getting expensive, these sort of cars now, and this is an absolutely beautiful conditioned one. Just pulled it out of the garage so that we can show you the Mk1 Escort build, and obviously it starts raining straight away, but you can see this car, real straight car, really pretty in black. So as you see in the last episode, we fitted these compression struts and we welded everything in, all the brackets and everything, and then we fitted these adjustable TCAs. Unfortunately they're pretty much maxed out at the minute, and we've still got too much toe and too much negative camber going on. Also we're going to have to remove this cross member because the exhausts don't fit, so there's no clearance in between the engine mount and between the steering rack or anything to route that exhaust down into. You can see here it's really tight. So we're going to change over that cross member. Can you see this is like a Group 4 cross member, all been welded up and everything. I'm going to fit a different cross member so it drops it down a little bit, gives us the clearance we need, and obviously that changes the engine mounts. So there's obviously a lot going on under here from the rally days that it's had in the past. Obviously this car's been rallied for years and years, so there's lots of brackets and everything that's not needed anymore. You can see up here it did actually run a 4-link setup. That's why it's got no tramp bars or tramp brackets at the minute. So it did actually run a 4-link setup, and we've got a new 4-link setup for it, which I'm going to show you, a brand new setup. We're going to obviously get the car running, and then we'll sort all that extreme stuff out in the very near future, but I will show you the bars and everything that we've got for it. Got lowering blocks for the rear as well to get that rear lower. Also we've got an LSD to change over this, so we're going to change all that lot over, and I will show you the progress of that. So you can see here the car has got a nice stance to it, obviously the wheels and everything, and it suits the rally look of it, but it needs to go a little bit lower. You can see it's like it's on stilts. I have just still got it on the actual ramp, so it is obviously taking a little bit of tension out because the rear arm it's going to roll back and it's got no handbrake at the minute. But you can see the stance of the rears. We could even fit a little bit of spacers in there as well and stance them out a little bit more. They are 9Js on there, but obviously these bubble arches are absolutely massive. So the problem we've got in a minute, and the reason we've got to mess around with that subframe, is there's no clearance in between here. As you can see, we've got the knuckle on the steering rack, but these mounts and the cross member, and there's just no room down here. I know it actually looks it, but I will show you the manifold on, and there's just no room at the minute down there. So we're going to change over that cross member to from the Group 4 one to the stock one. Now you can see here we've got the pedal box in. It's a pretty simple job, just 4 bolts. Had to mess around with the accelerator pedal. Had to get a new one of them, but you can see that's all in there nicely now. So you go, you can see a little bit clearer now, so you can see the pedal boxes in there all bolted in there nice, absolutely perfect. So we'll make a tunnel up for that. Pedal box is in, braided lines are in, and obviously we ain't running the hydraulic clutch on this. So we've got the accelerator pedal in there as well now, which was the problem, we couldn't get it in there before, and that's all sorted. So obviously we've got this custom tank in the back. I'm just messing around with fuel lines at the minute. You can see how high the rear is at the minute, and we've got some lowering blocks to go in there, and that's going to drop that down a little bit. Obviously we've got to address the front issue because it is really high on the front as well. The actual shocks themselves, the poundage of the springs on there are not actually that hard, so it's probably just the actual size of the spring itself. So we're going to have to drop that a little bit just to go with the rears. Obviously we can't have it having some reverse rake. So this is the manifold that we've got for the Cosworth. Obviously it goes from 4 to 2 to 1, and at the minute it just doesn't clear. So I'll just quickly show you them on there and show you the clearance issues. Right, so on to showing you this exhaust system, obviously the problem we've got with this subframe and crossmember. So you can see here this actual 2 and 3 cylinder, it fits on there absolutely spot on. It goes down there nicely, it's got loads of clearance, everything. But as soon as you try to put on 1 and 4, and we will swap it out so I can show you what I mean. So you can see here, unfortunately, when you put on number 1 and 4, it just does not fit past this crossmember down here. So obviously this new crossmember is going to drop that engine mount down a little bit. There's no point chopping up the exhaust manifold to make it fit, so we're going to do it the proper way. We're going to lower that mount, mess around with the mounts, and we're about to get that in there nicely. So you can see it's going to clear the actual chassis leg itself. So just a little bit of modifying. Obviously it's custom, totally custom, but that exhaust run on the car and it was all dynoed with it, so there's no point messing around with that. So I wanted to show you this Mk1 Cortina that's in the workshop today. An absolutely beautiful car. You can see here it's in Lotus Cortina colours. It's not a genuine Lotus Cortina, it's not even got genuine mini lights on it, but it's a beautiful car. So we're going to change the mini lights over for genuine ones, but look at the paintwork on this. So the paintwork's been done in-house on this, and it's an absolutely beautiful job. You can see how straight the car is. Really clean car, absolutely rust free. Even inside it's been done, and you can see how clean it is inside. All been painted aluminium panels. You've put in an aluminium firewall in there, and the reason behind that is in here we've got a fuel tank that goes in here almost like a false floor. You can see that's the actual fuel tank there. We've got the lines coming out of there. We've got them going into a facet fuel pump. You can see up here we've got a filter, we've got battery. You can see the false floor's been made. Absolutely beautiful bit of work. So you can see how tidy this is. Going to be an absolutely stunning car. Just running some fuel lines for it at the minute. So that's the setup we've got in the rear. It doesn't take a ton of fuel, but it's obviously not going the extreme distances. It's just, you know, your Sunday drive or taking it to a show. So you can see how much work's been done in here, and it absolutely looks amazing. So if I quickly show you it from the rear as well, then Mk1 Cortina rear end is such a classic look. You can see how nice that looks. And if you want to see a little bit more of this on the channel, let me know. And to finish it off, this is the Mk1 Cortina's party piece up front. You can see here the Cosworth engine. So this is another NA engine. You can see beautifully done, really nice conversion, really tidy. You can see it's on Weber carbs again. Spec of the engine, it's obviously got a ported head, high compression, about 10.5 to 1. You can see Hayward and Scott built a lovely exhaust system for it. A 4 to 2 to 1 exhaust manifold on it. It's got a ported head, 205 block. It's got some fast row cams with some solid lifters, and it's got a Type 9 gearbox with a longer first gear. So it's a really fun car, and it's also got a limited slip diff at the back. So you can see the beautiful rear end on this Mk1 Cortina, and it's such a classic look. It's up there with the classic look of, you know, a Skyline R32 with the twin tail lights. When you come up behind this car with them tail lights, it just looks amazing, especially with the Lotus Cortina theme with the green and the white paintwork. You can see how clean it is underneath as well. It's just a beautiful car. It's really clean, lovely exhaust system on there. I mean, look how clean the exhaust system is on its own. This is just an absolute work of art, this car. We've got the slipping diff up there as well. We've got the lowering blocks on there as well to drop it down on the rear. They're actually like really big. I think they're like 3 inch. So you can see it actually sits quite low on the rear, and strangely enough they actually sit quite offset, so you can see the wheel actually sits quite forward. I'd probably sit a little bit of bigger wheels in there as well, maybe raise it up a tiny bit if it was my car, because you can see on the fronts it's not as low. But some people like that look. It's almost like the rally car look, you know, on the Escorts. They have the rears a little bit lower. But what do you think of that Cosy engine in the front? It really makes this car. So I've just been buffing this paintwork today, and you can see how nice this paintwork is, and this paintwork's all been done in house, and it's just been really well done. And there was a lot of rot on the seals, inner and outer seals have been done, and loads of other work. There's some welding done to the boot as well. It just looks amazing. So it's so straight, the car is really straight. And I just thought I'd give you a little look at another car, another little project, just so you can see the quality of work that's happening in a minute. So obviously keep subscribed, keep watching the videos if you want to see little projects that are coming in the workshop in and out, and you will see lots more of it in the future. So I did see a lot of people commenting about the Volvo and how they was excited and looking forward to seeing that one built. So you can see, unfortunately, there's not been a ton of progress, but the engine bay has all been painted, ready for the engine to go in. So the engine is all fully built, but the gearbox was off for aqua blasting. It got a little bit of water in it, so it's had a flush out. But you can see all the engine bay is painted now. It's like a greeny silver colour, the original colour, and it actually looks really nice. So you can see it obviously matches the bodywork. So I just thought I'd give you a quick update on that to see there's not much progress gone on. So just making the best out of two different clocks at the minute. On the early type, the actual clock itself is dished, which is a much nicer look, just making the best out of both. You can see obviously these are only 110 mile an hour and these are 140 mile an hour. So just in the process right now of swapping over this Crossmember. You can see here, just switched it over to this one with a lot more clearance, so we can actually see what's going on. And you can see it's got offset holes as well. We're going to go into the top hole with the actual TCAs. You can see the TCAs fully bushed up, but we're going to have to change these for slightly longer ones because they're pretty much maxed out. Fitting in this new Crossmember, we're having some more issues now because everything's custom. Obviously it's a strengthened Crossmember. You can see up here we're having a problem with the steering rack knuckle. It's actually touching on the Crossmember itself, so we're going to have to notch that out a little bit for some extra clearance. So also the prop shaft we had for it was too long, so we had to order a new prop shaft, but it absolutely fits on there perfectly now. So you can see got brand new prop shaft on there now. Just messing around with some of the mounting brackets for the back of this gearbox so we can get this mounted up properly, because the mounts that they put and welded in, or these nuts that have been welded in for the rally, just doesn't sit right with this rear gearbox mount. So you're gonna have to modify this bracket, do some modifying, put some spacer plates in there. Obviously you didn't see these Group 4 studs being fitted, but you can see they're an absolutely lovely bit of kit. They even got a locking nut on the back of them, and they're proper beefy. You can see how chunky they are, and if you look at them actually bolted onto the wheel, they've got a lovely stud and nut set up as well. So you can see, instead of having, you know, like some of the track cars, they have the nuts that are right in there and a long stud hanging out the back. It's less chance of damaging the alloy, obviously, when you're changing the wheels quickly. You can see here that the actual rear of the car is very high. It's obviously in rally spec still. Even when it's on the ground with the weight on it, it's a very light car, so it doesn't drop very much. So we've got some lowering blocks for it at the minute. These are just going to be 2-inch lowering blocks that are going to sit in there. They're going to just drop down the rear of the car nicely, drop it down, as you can see, 2 inches. It's going to give us a much better look as well in the rear here. And on these Mark 2s, Mark 1s, they always sort of sit with the rear lower than the front anyway. It's kind of like the rally look. So basically the way that you use these, you can see here you've got the U-bolts that sit up here on the mounts, and these will just replace them for an extra long U-bolt instead of, you know, the stock short U-bolt you've got up there. I'll show you them when it's fitted. So you can see here that we've got a lot of toe at the front at the minute, so we've got to get some extended outer tie rods because we've pretty much maxed them out. You can see sort of where they were, and they're just maxed out basically, and we can't do much about that. This side's pretty much straight, you can see, but this side's got loads of toe-ins. You can see the clearance issues here we was having with this knuckle. We've notched some out of this Crossmember, and that's going to be boxed in properly. Obviously this is just a mock-up at the minute, and then we'll get it all back off and strengthen everything up. You can see also all the chassis and the suspension setup is pretty much back together now. So got the adjustable TCAs on there, we've got the compression struts all welded in nicely and strong, and you can see here we've got the extended tie rods in there. So obviously this is going to sort out the tracking. The wheels were way too much towing in on one side, it was on this side. We just eyed them in. Obviously it's going to be done on the tracking machine. But RS2000 suspensions in there. We've got the brake caliper bolts as well now, so we'll get them bolted on and see what the clearance is with these wheels. But you can see how tight everything is. So I've got these nice chunky brakes that are going on the car as well. You can see they're a twin piston design with a nice, obviously, sliding pad similar to what you get on the modern style Brembos, but obviously this is an old school retro design. Braided hoses with them as well, and a solid hose. Got a pair of them, just need slight modifications needed because the bolts are touching, but they're going to stop the car nicely, especially as it's only a really light car. So we're just waiting for a few more bits now. So we've got these Bilstein shocks, lovely chunky shocks that are going to go up here obviously on the Escort, so that it allows much straighter setup. So you can see it's all been notched out and everything on this inner arch, and then there's going to be a bracket welded onto the actual axle itself, as opposed to how it would have been as stock. It would have bolted to here and then went up at an angle up into this floor pan to some bracket, which is not the way you want to do it, obviously. So the modern cars obviously have a shock. It's going to go up here and then be going to a beam or independent suspension setup. Right, so on to the final bits now. So on the Mk1 Escort, we're having a 4-link setup that's going to be fitted in the future, and you can see how this works. So in a case of say a rear beam or a rear axle, the beam is going to want to come in, it's going to want to tilt forward. These 4-link setups allow the beam to come down at a vertical, so it doesn't actually tilt backwards and forwards. So that's the design of it. It was a very advanced design back in the day. It's all adjustable. It's a very, very nice bit of kit. You can see it comes with all the bushes, everything needed. And then onto the shock setup. As you see, the actual shock setup you're going to have is actually turreted for these shocks. So you're using these Bilstein shocks. These are the mounts that are going to be welded to the axle itself. Then they bolt into the bottom here, and it allows the shock setup to be a lot straighter, because the original shock setup on the Mk1s are at an angle, so it's like an angled shock setup. And these just obviously allow that beam to have much more movement without affecting any of the geometry. So these are obviously a custom bracket setup already made. We didn't make these up. I think they're from Gartrack, I'm not sure. And obviously they just literally weld onto the top of the axle. I'll show you that when it's getting done. So I'm just showing you the parts we've got. These are obviously the reservoirs for the pedal box that we've got. So these are going to be mounted up in the normal position. So that's for the fluid. We've got 2 of them. And then these polyurethane bushes just go in like a normal bush would do, either side of there. Obviously you can't get them in, they're going to be greased up and then pressed in. They go either side of there, so it's lovely and tight. You've got the spherical joint up this end. Obviously it's got a locking nut on here. This just welds into the chassis or bolts into the chassis, however you want to do it. And then you've got these pins that go through the bushes, and that allows everything to be solid. So this is going to be a very, very nice design. If you haven't seen a 4-link setup and you don't know what it is, just do a little bit of a Google search, or maybe search on YouTube, and you see it basically just holds that rear axle in place, so it goes up nice and straight. And with this shock setup, it's going to be perfect for racing. Hopefully we can get on with this beautiful Mark II Mexico at some point, get this thing painted up, get this back to normal. So it's obviously, as you've seen, this is just a table at the minute, but it's going to have full interior in this one. No race car, no cage, just a totally restored car. I'm actually really looking forward to this one. I love the Mark II, especially the Mexico. It's a genuine Mexico car and a lovely colour. So it had a vinyl roof on it. I don't know what they was thinking putting a vinyl roof on it, but we've just removed the vinyl roof and it's so much cleaner. Obviously the car's having a full respray, but it's having no vinyl roof put back on it. Right, so the car's back on the ground now with all the extensive modifications done, and you can see how tight everything is down this left side, which has been why it has took so long to do. And you can see there's a tiny little bit of clearance we've got to make for this exhaust system. It's not properly bolted on there at the minute, and you can see everything's fitting in there nicely. You've got the actual racks fitting in there good, the columns fitting in there good. You've got the clearance down there for the knuckle on the subframe itself. And it's a real tight fit to get everything to fit, but it is all coming together nicely now. So I haven't really been able to film much of it because I've just been getting on with it. So the update on the Focus RS is it's patiently waiting bodywork at the minute. So you see all the mechanicals have done on this now. If you haven't watched that, go back and watch that episode. Just waiting to do the bodywork on it, just getting some time. The red GSI is going to have its bodywork done in about 2 weeks time, so that's going to be good to watch. It's going to absolutely have a complete respray on it. Volvo's sitting here. Unfortunately the engine's not back in that yet. Projects after projects, I'm just trying to get through them all. So here's a fun little project we've been working on in the background. I haven't done much filming of it, but I'll just give you a little look around it now. So you can see that the roof has been painted in the gold of the Alan Mann colours. So this has all just been painted, and then the bodywork's going to go red, the same colour as the Alan Mann. At the minute it's in satin black. It actually looks quite cool. Satin black hides a lot of imperfections. Now this car is a Morris Minor, but it's not just the average Morris Minor, as you can see. So obviously Morris Minor 1000, and this ain't got a Morris Minor 1000 engine. So we've just fitted a Fiat twin cam engine into this. Now I'm not that familiar with the different models because these are old engines, but you can see here it's a 2 litre twin cam on twin Weber carbs. So everything's going on Weber carbs at the minute. You've seen 3 cars in this episode on Weber carbs, and you know how rare Weber carbs are. So this inlet manifold bolts straight up. The engine's running, it runs absolutely sweet now. A couple of little teething issues that we've sorted out, but you can see everything's mounted in there now. It was bought as a rolling shell, it had no engine in it, nothing, so bolted on the gearbox, clutch, the whole lot, and made this car run. So the car actually drives now. I will show you this car in more detail in the future. We've just been cracking on with it. I ain't done much filming on it. It's a cool little project. So basically we're running the Fiat front end, and then it's running an Escort rear end. So you can see you've got side exit exhaust out there, and then inside here it's a little bit of a mess at the minute. It's obviously a project in the making. So you can see we've got bucket seats in here, like nice comfy bucket seats as well, old school ones, really comfy. Obviously needs a proper tidy up in here, it's not been touched, just been sorting the mechanicals out. But we've got roll cage in there, a half cage. It's a very wide car as well. It's actually like a really fun looking car. When it's all painted up, it's going to look really, really nice. Plenty going on. So if you're interested in all these type of cars, these old classic cars, this is the channel for you. So if you haven't subscribed, go and subscribe to the channel, and obviously drop a like and drop a comment. I like to hear your comments, whether they're good or bad. I don't care about negative comments. It should be fun. You can see it's quite noisy. I'll start it up for you next time. You can hear it, but very retro, very classic. You probably see some people in the comment section that have owned these in the past, old Morris Minor. It's also almost been made into like a hot rod, and it's going to look really, really cool when it's done. A few people have seen this in the background, this yellow Audi S3. This was a track car. It had a fire in the engine bay, and it had some wiring issues. So it's just been sitting here basically. You can see the fire extinguisher went off in it, loads of issues with it, and but just really, it's just been a project that's just sat here and hasn't done much since it had the fire at the track. But you can see it's a full out track car. It's got a full cage in it, and I love the colour. I know it's obviously a track car and it's really tatty, but I love the yellow Audi S3s. So if you like the Audis, let me know. There's also a Seat track car that you've got here. So you've got the Seat here, another car that's another full out track car. You see you've got door bars in here, bucket seats, all the same stuff in here, full cage. Just another car that's been sitting. Everything's been stripped out in here, fully lightweight car. Gets used every now and then. Right, so there she sits. This is the end of the episode. I know a ton hasn't been done, but we got a lot of stuff, a lot of progress, especially on the axle side of things, and the thing is getting there now. So you're seeing that the car, the engine's in there, pretty much ready to run. I mean, just starting to wire it up. You can see, I didn't show you that, but we just started to wire headlights and put the loom back in. And then we can actually get this thing running. So that rad setup, which is there, this was from a Mexico. So just trying to get that to fit in there. At the minute it's a little bit tight. Gonna have to do a little bit of trimming, but that will go in there. There's no point buying a new rad setup. We can just make this one fit.